Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the weekly edition of our platform webinar demo. I'm excited to be with you today. My name is Mark Smith. I am the Director of Solutions Engineering here at Cloud Academy. If you've seen any of my posts, I'm really excited to be talking with you. I love talking about the platform and how we're working with our customers day in and day out to help them achieve their goals. So what I hope to do today, just to set a quick agenda for you. I want to go through the demo, obviously take some Q&A, but throughout the demo, I want to give you some examples of how we're solving for some of these challenges, maybe help you contextualize how we might be able to do this for you and your organization. I encourage you during the webinar to put your questions in chat. I'll take time at the end to go through and answer those. And certainly if you want to follow up with me after the webinar, please do that. I'd love to have a conversation with you and just answer any questions that you might have as well. So with that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to disappear here for a second. I'm going to launch the demo environment, and we're going to get started. All right. So the first thing I want to talk to you about here is, if you think of it from complexity of an organization, every organization is different. So we work from very large Fortune 100 enterprise organizations down, smaller clients as well. Everyone is set up differently. What we've done, and this has been a recent improvement in the platform, is we're going to give you the ability to organize your teams, all of your members into groups that would either largely reflect the way you do things in your organization or really align with what you're looking to achieve. So what this is doing, if I've got a root team here, so this is my infrastructure team, and there's 15 sub teams underneath, I've got the ability to be able to have reporting for all of these sub teams plus any additional teams that might be here. So it gives you the layered view that you need under your entire organization. So there's no restrictions to the number of licenses. And one great thing about this, by the way, is there is often a lot of our clients need people that have access to just manage their teams, but they don't need content. We're going to give those licenses to you for free. You don't have to pay for those with Cloud Academy. So if you've got several of these team managers that just need to be able to manage and assign training and look at skills for their team, we'll give those licenses to you for free. Additionally, you can line these up with certification initiatives. So large certification initiatives we do with some of our consulting firms we work with, or just tied to job roles. You can do that as well. For purposes of today, I'm going to kind of take you through this example. So you've got one sub team under the root here. And what you could do, you put all your members in there. And you'll see that you've got team managers assigned. What that does is, as an administrator, you've got looked into the entire organization, all the reporting and analytics. It's basically a super user. When you actually create that team and assign someone as a team manager, you're giving them that admin power for that particular team. Like I mentioned, they can have content access or they can't. It doesn't matter. They could still be able to manage the team even without content access. So you set that team up, and now these managers in this instance would be able to assign out assessments, training plans, monitor all the reporting and analytics as they move through. All right, so we've set up our team, and what we're going to do at this point is you've got someone from my team on the solutions team that will work with you, but you also get a dedicated customer success manager. Is a critical role to the implementation of Cloud Academy in your organization. We're going to partner with you to make sure that we're matching whatever key performance indicators you're looking to set at the onset of the engagement. So what we'll do is we'll help you align an assessment to go in and figure out exactly the baseline that we're working with amongst your team. This is a very quick way to get an idea of where everyone is starting from. I'll just give you a quick look at some of the assessments that we have. So these are text-based assessments. You've got some what we call lab challenges. These are scenario-based labs that really can see the practitioner level skills. Hold on to that for a moment. I'll talk about it here again. And then again, you've got your text-based assessments largely aligned with some of the cloud platforms, basic cloud, even some programming areas, things like that. We could customize these through Content Engine, which I'll talk about later on. You assign these out, you'll see some 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. And I'm going to give you a look at what some of the examples or what some of the readouts look like. So here, let's go through one that's got all three of the cloud platforms. Obviously, multi-cloud is very popular now. So of the 4 assignees here, you get an idea of how they assessed, like what their actual scores were. This is important because you can see any outliers, right? It's really great to have that granular insight and know where everyone is starting from. So I can identify maybe if Ava was further ahead than everyone, or if Aaron was a little bit further behind, maybe they can be on the same path, but we got to put something more fundamental in front of them first. And then you get your holistic look at the team and how they actually are kind of ranking across these core domains within some of the cloud platforms we're looking at. So again, you could kind of, if you have any assumptions, you're validating that, and then through the assessments, you get an overall look at how they're ranking with the overall knowledge within the cloud platforms themselves, which is to formulate into baseline skill profile, which we'll talk about here momentarily. And this is just getting you started off on the right foot. So again, we'll take the results of the assessment and we'll work with you to pair up training plans that are going to attack the skill gaps that match your business outcomes. So that's where we're going to go to next, or over to training plans. Let me go back to my team here. So in this instance, I can actually come in here and start to assign a training plan. So I've got all the history for my team, where everyone is at, their onboarding. I'd be able to see all the assessments. So let's just say I want to start a training plan and start to attack some of the skill gaps that align with AWS, for instance. I want to get everyone started on a starter path for the cloud architect. I can actually select that. I can create any custom training plans. Again, we're going to talk about this when we get into Content Engine. But if I want to use this one out of the box, I can select it. We give you the ability to set the amount of time per week that you want them to study. Now, we take this very seriously, that the content on the platform is superb. It's absolutely world class. But of our core beliefs is that if you just have access to content without this accountability and the ability to actually assess the learning, the training program is not going to be as effective. Now, this is the accountability part. So you've got an amount of time per week. Again, I can come over here and change the amount of time per week, or I could just land on the due date. So if I want them to do this by the end of July, it tells me about 2 hours a week, review and confirm. That is then going to go out to all members of the team, telling them that a training plan has been assigned. So it's building that for me right now. And what happens is each week they're ultimately going to get an email telling them where they're at. They're going to first get notified that the training plan has been assigned. Then they're going to get weekly emails with their status. The manager gets a consolidated view. And again, that's the accountability built in. But we don't stop there, because the learning never really stops. It's going to continue to change. So we have customers who build out training plans 6 months, 9 months, a year in advance. And that's through a feature that we have in sequencing these training plans. So if I know that I started, here at the starter level for AWS, and I want to take them to a more intermediate path at this point, and we'll get into some of the content here momentarily, I can select that, and again, come down here and pick a due date. So if I want to go to the end of the 30th, end of November, confirm and assign that, and that's going to build out the sequence training plans. What this is doing as a leader in your organization is giving you the ability to confidently look at what you're trying to achieve and say, here's where we're starting. But I can confidently predict by the end of November, we'll have this set of skills built up within the team to be able to execute on the deliverables that we have. I'm going to actually show you when you go into the training plan. Let's just take a look at one of these here that are a little bit behind. This is, again, some of the more accountability factors. So this team is working through it. You see I can extend due dates, but I get a look at all the individuals, their progress, average scores. So inside of these training plans, there could be multiple exams, just showing you how well they're retaining that, the last activity and where they're tracking. And there's a nudge feature built into the platform. So if I've got, in this case, several that are behind, I can turn these on automatically, or I can come in and do a manual nudge. This message can be customized, but again, it's just going to send them that email. You'll be able to keep track of that as a manager to see how everyone is doing there. So they're going to continue to work through their training plans, but what is the output from this outside of what you're seeing in their current job and what they're doing as far as a work product? As far as return on investment with Cloud Academy, we're going to give you deep insight into what they're actually learning. So let's start first with analytics. This is the consumption level metric. So this is where you can see time being spent on the platform. Again, I'm at the administrator level, so I'm looking at my entire organization, but I can come through and look at any of these activities. So learning paths are a culmination of courses, quizzes, exams, labs, and some of these custom resources. So that's what the learning paths are, but I can look at any of these areas. So if I'm going through one of those certification initiatives and I want to go and look at, in this instance, AZ 104, it's going to be an initiative. I can click on that. And I can actually look at all the individuals and see how many times they've started that, completed it, passed it, and what their last score was. This is going to give me the insight that I need to be able to know whether or not they're ready to go and take and pass that exam. So that is your consumption level metric. But I talked about in our core beliefs with the accountability and the validation. This is the measurement that we're talking about. I see this day in and day out when we're going through some of our quarterly business reviews with customers, looking at how Cloud Academy is performing in their organization. So we're talking at skill profiles here. I talked about at the beginning with the pre-assessment formulating that baseline that you're working with. And here is your exhaustive list of everything on Cloud Academy. Again, I'm at the admin view, so this is my entire organization, but I've got all the cloud platforms, domains, concepts, software. So we are cloud and emerging tech. That entails a lot of the emerging tech that falls within cloud, like DevOps and programming, security, et cetera, things like that. So now this is, again, overall, everything on Cloud Academy. But if I want to dive deeper into AWS, for instance, let's go here and take a look. On that pre-assessment, you saw the core domains that were listed over in the assessment. Here's the exhaustive list of those domains. What I've done here is simply isolate all practitioner level skills for my organization within AWS. This is showing me how well they're performing. Again, not they watched a course, but they went in, they actually validated a hands-on lab, either through a guided, a challenge lab, command line interface, one of the playgrounds, or they're going through and they're actually performing on quizzes and exams. These are the practitioner level skills. So now I can see the top users. I can see actually top teams if I want to as well. And I can continue to click through and dive a little bit deeper. So if I want to look at security, I'll be able to isolate just the security domain. Here is an instance where now I can look who has the most well-rounded practitioner level skills within the security domain for AWS. I can identify those users as well as the teams. A couple of interesting use cases for this. I mean, these are like, we've had organizations that use these to help put people on consulting engagements, particular projects, actually helping pick the right services to build out their architect the right security solution for them within the cloud. We even have a customer who actually puts in their own content, puts custom skills with that, and they'll use that, the skill profile skills by the execution on the labs and the exams to see how many support tickets they can anticipate for their support staff over any given month, which is a phenomenal use case for it. But again, possibilities are endless for this. We'll work with you, and our customer success team will work with you to make sure we understand what you're looking to accomplish, and this will be a real effective measuring, a measuring stick to kind of see how well things are going, and we can adjust course as needed. I'm going to take a moment and pop back to the end user side of things. I want you to see what it looks like for your users. I'm going to come back and revisit Content Engine here at the very end, but let's take a step back to the dashboard for the end user. I think that's extremely important. We started as an end user platform, an exceptional experience for people to come in, play around with the platform, get some labs, pass some certifications, and then we built this enterprise functionality around it. So this is a dashboard for the individual user. They'll be able to see any assessments they have, any training plans, completed content is going to live here, any activity. So if they've gone through and started, there's AI components built in. It's going to start to learn some of their behavioral patterns and make some top picks. We're going to have the ability for them to bookmark. In this demo environment, it's currently blank, but you'll be able to bookmark explanations like from quizzes and exams, any learning paths that you have. And we've also presented an opportunity for them to go in and upload any of their certifications that you can start to measure and look at the efficacy of your certification programs as well. They can share these on LinkedIn, whatever they want to do. But again, you can track all of your certifications within the platform as well. On the training plan side, here are the training plans assigned to the individual from a manager. You can see the leaderboards, but we're going to give them the ability to assign their own training plans. So we do have some organizations that want to provide Cloud Academy to their teams, specifically within consulting firms, and they want to allow them to create their own training plans. So we made that functionality available. Same UI, it just shows up as a self-assigned training plan. Our mobile app, I'm not going to get to demo that today. Probably go back and revisit that to do it another time, but the mobile app is really sleek. They've made so many updates to it. I encourage you to go and take a look at that. If you haven't, anyone that works with me of our customers that want to start with the pilot before a full engagement, I always encourage them to go take a look at the mobile app. And then on the skill profile, you looked at it from the managers or administrators point of view here. We're going to empower the individuals to take control of their skill profile as well. So now they have the ability to go in and look specifically where their skills lie in any of these given areas and go and make themselves a more well-rounded practitioner. So if Azure is what's important to me in my current role, I can then isolate just all the Microsoft Azure training, and then I can begin to pick which domains are going to be applicable for me, what services, et cetera, and start to fill out my profile that way. And so again, I'm at the security for Azure now, and look, I can go in and pick any of these quizzes that I want to go in and take a look at, recommend browse training for some of these areas where I may not have built up skill. So again, just another avenue to go through and make sure that you are a well-rounded practitioner in all the areas that are most important to you in your current role. All right, we're going to take a look now at the library itself. So I'm going to bounce into the training library. We recently released the first iteration of our job roles. We've had them in the platform now, but already, but we're making these a little bit easier. You saw some of those in the training plan earlier. We're going to continue to build these out. So you've got job roles, beginner, intermediate, advanced for all these different areas and the different cloud platforms, including programming languages, different areas. Go through, take a look at some of those when you have time. This library is public facing. I mentioned that we're cloud and emerging tech. So not just the cloud platforms you see here, but again, emerging tech surrounding it, like DevOps, containers, programming, security, all these different areas. Down here is where you can create custom content and have it live under custom nodes. Again, I'll talk about that when I get into content engine here momentarily. So let's take a look. I'm going to go into AWS here, and I want you to see a learning path and how we've seen this to be a proven and an effective way for people to go through, and a structured way for them to go through and learn and get the information and the skills they need to go through and be effective in their current roles. A lot of updated certifications for AWS here. Encourage you to go take a look at those. I'll pop into one of the more popular, which is a solutions architect. You've got an overview of the entire learning path. You can have a certificate of excellence. You can actually going to be able to download your or upload your certifications from this UI here as well. But then you actually get into the learning path. So again, it's a learn, do, and validate model. Learn with the courses, do and validate with the hands-on labs, and then additional validation with some of the exams. In this particular case, there's a final exam at the very end, which is going to mirror what it looks like to sit for the final exam since this is certification. We do these a bit differently than what you may have seen on some other areas. So in these examples, of course, I like to show this because it's 45 minutes. Many of you probably heard Stuart Scott, but ultimately we break these up. 45-minute video is long to sit down and watch for an extended period of time. So we're going to actually break it apart into modules. So you can sit down, build up some momentum on your training plan, knock out some of these modules, but it's also easily indexable and searchable. So if I search for EFS, I'm going to be able to pull up these particular lectures to go and take a look at it. You're seeing where Stuart's live on the screen, so a couple different, you'll see PowerPoint-based, live demos, things like that, but that's how the courses are largely delivered online. I'm going to actually go into a lab now. We've got different types of labs. This is going to be a guided lab I'm showing you, so let me walk through this one first. This is the UI, so when you start the lab, keep in mind this is going to be the same UI for Azure and GCP as well. Obviously, the only difference is when you actually go to open up the console, you're going to be live in Azure or GCP, depending on whatever lab you're in. So I open in the environment, you see it boots up instantly, put in my username and password, and I'm live in the AWS console, ready to start that lab. It's a unique instance provision for me. So every time you log in and start the lab, you're going to get a new set of credentials. You can go and do these as many times you want. Here's a guided lab. I'm recently working with the customer earlier, and one of their things that they wanted to know about from a lab perspective is how can they validate these things. So you can imagine it was quite a surprise and really good feedback to see. Here's the guided lab, screenshots walking you through. But something very different here is how we add validation steps at the end of some of these steps within the lab. We used to do these at the end of the entire lab. Better user experience for these guided labs is to build them within the steps. So as I go to start the check, if I haven't created that EC2 instance, which I haven't, it's going to error out and tell me I need to go back and go and fix that. So I can see it hasn't done, and I'll need to go back and fix the and create the EC2 instance before I can move forward. Additional labs that we have available, we call lab challenges. Those are scenario-based labs. We've got several built out for certifications. As you may well know, Microsoft has been using that for a lot of their exams already. We're sitting in on beta for AWS's first exam where they're going to incorporate lab simulations, which is SysOps. Our team is on there, our content team is on there, as well as our lab team going through, and they're going to build a lab challenge for that particular certification to help people get ready to pass that. So those lab challenges are scenario-based labs, and for ease of example, I'll tell you what it is this lab with none of the guidance. So you've got to get from step 1 to step 5 with no guidance. So it's giving you a scenario, you go through and execute on that, validate it, that feeds into your skill profile score. Great way to build up practitioner level skills in a sandbox safe environment before you turn people over in production. And I'll talk a little bit about how you can build those out to mirror your stack here in a moment. Again, we got command line interface labs as well as open playgrounds for you to go and take a look at. Phenomenal part of the platform. They continue to build these out. Again, these are text-based, so we can update these frequently. And this is, again, the lab team, I'm super impressed with how often they're rolling out new labs each and every day. And the final piece I'll show you, every learning path that we have is going to have a final exam. This particular example is obviously for the Solutions Architect Associate. So it's going to be the final exam that you mirror what it looks like for you to go and sit for that. This is the same UI. So you did that pre-assessment at the beginning. As you continue to go through and look through other assessments, it's going to continue to refine and build out that skill profile score. So I'm just going to take you through what that actually looks like and why this is such a successful, proven method to go through and work with our customers on these large certification initiatives. The type of feedback that they're getting at the end, at the individual level, is phenomenal. So I'm going to go through and answer a few of these. You'll see it's typical exam questions. One of the things I want to tell you about on a lot of the exams that we have, our data scientists have worked hard to build in item response theory, meaning if you're asking beginner level questions and answering those correctly, so say maybe 5 in a row correctly, it will adjust the difficulty to something more intermediate for you. You answer that correctly, it asks another one the same level, or perhaps it goes back down a notch. Again, that skill score is constantly being pinged, so you can be confident what's there represented for that individual. You'll notice you can skip these questions, so we don't want you to answer if you don't know. I'll talk about that more in a moment, but if you answer it correctly, you're just a good guesser. That's just going to build skill that you don't necessarily have, and we want to discourage that on the platform. There's large pools of these questions, so you can go through and do them multiple times. So I'm going to go through and submit this, and I'll show you what the readout looks like for those individuals. All right, so I've gone through, I've got the results, my overall score, and I want you to see how this relates back to what you looked at earlier for the skill profile at the management level. So here you've got all the different domains. So I answer a question on Glacier S3 for storage. That's going to feed into that service level knowledge, which then feeds into the domain level, my overall AWS score, and then my overall Cloud Academy score. So that's how it all works. Any of those individuals that go through can immediately start to improve score with a specific quiz on those areas or browse training if they want to launch that from here. Ultimately, you go down and you get an answer review. So now, I told you before, skip them if you don't know them. It's because we're going to give you all the answers to the correct questions. The ones that you got incorrect, we'll give you an explanation. In this case, we're pointing you to the official AWS documentation for some certification purposes, which is phenomenal. You'll see a lot of referring back to different courses or lectures within Cloud Academy as well, but we're going to tell you all the ones we skipped to. Again, pulling from large pools of these questions, best practice to go through and do it multiple times. Once you've built up a satisfactory score in that program that you are comfortable with people going out and testing for the certification, usually around 4 or 5 times is that sweet spot, then it's really proven to be effective. Last thing on the end user side I'll touch on here is the search functionality. Super robust. So if there's anything that you want to search for specifically, so if Kubernetes is top of mind, you want to see what we have there. As you type something into the search bar, it's going to show you all areas that have Kubernetes in there. And then you can start to filter out different learning paths, different courses, look at specific labs, any type of resource, even refine the difficulty level down here, and even some of the domains as you kind of get into more of those searches. And we're entering the home stretch here. The final piece I want to talk to you about is Content Engine. Completely unique tool to Cloud Academy. This has been an absolute game changer for our customers. As I talked earlier about someone building all custom content to train on their own tech, to actually put in custom skills and measure the performance to see how many support tickets they have. This is what they're actually using. I'm going to talk about this briefly. On the custom resources side, this is your own custom content. So these are static files, it could be PowerPoints, PDFs, MP4s. We can upload SCORM files in here as well. Then you actually could take, so let's just say it's a PDF that you want to put in here, or a video for that matter. Then you can actually go and you want to make sure people watched it, understood it, or read it. You can create an actual exam to align with that, comprised of different questions. In these questions, you've got the ability to then go in, create that question, give the answers that you want, and tie custom skills to those specific questions. So you'll see down here, as I'm going through, I can tie in skill objectives. So that's what we're talking about when you're building out the questions, rolling those into an exam. Additionally, you can actually go, I talked about this earlier, you can create custom labs to mirror the way that you're doing things in your stack. You know, so if I want to go and create a lab within Microsoft Azure, I can choose from and do it from scratch, or I can clone an existing lab. And what will happen if I clone that existing lab is it's going to pull through all those steps. It's going to name it exactly what it is. So if I want to create this as a new one, and then you've got all the steps. I showed you what a lab looked like on the front end. Here's the back end, same thing that our content team uses, and you have access to it as well. So here's all those steps. If I want to pull one and drag it over, I can do that, or I can work within the existing steps and then refine those to make them mirror what we look like. So again, coming in, changing any of the screenshots, rewriting any of the code. As soon as I start to type in here, it makes this a custom step. As I save that, it will label it as such, and then that's going to be available for us as the way we deploy the firewall service and create the root. Here is that how we can go in and use that custom step each time we're building a lab that's going to be there. Last thing I'll talk about is the learning paths. So you saw that as well. Same concept. If I want to build a learning path from scratch, I can do that. Or if I want to clone one and just make this to kind of look the way that we're doing things in our organization, I can do that as well. So if I want to go into this deep dive on Amazon S3, and I've built out and put in a couple of custom resources and a couple labs, whatever that may be, I can then, you see it fills all this information out for me. I can then go in and start to add in that content that I wanted to put in. So here, you've got all the courses and labs associated with it. Let's say I wrote my exam. I've got a custom resource that I wanted to put in here, just a random one. I've got my exam that I've created that I want to go through and add. And I want to replace one of the existing labs with one that I've created, or actually put a challenge lab in here as well. It puts all those down at the end. I can then move them wherever I want. So if this was a lab I want to replace, I can take it out, move that up into the step. Again, super easy to go in and configure these learning paths to mirror exactly what you want for your teams to go and consume. A couple of things, again, you could tie the skill objectives to this here. You can actually pull some others over. So if Glacier was one that was in there, it could do that. Again, any of those you could tie in. Any of your custom skills will be available to choose from. And then as you go in and save, it will be ready and available to publish. As your actual end users can go through and create these. So if you have people doing the work and you want them to design a lab, whatever that may be, ultimately you can have them do that as well. This is a great way to engage them and help them build out some content, but we do put that the ability for only admins or team managers to publish as kind of that quality control that you need to make sure everything in there is legit and what you want it to be. You can even limit that to going to just certain teams, or if you want it to be available to the entire organization. So once it's published, it's there for everybody to go in and work through. Then you could actually come in here and start to build out a training plan with that learning path in there. Once the training plan is created, then it can be assigned. Same scenario, I can do it from scratch, enter what I had, save it as a training plan, and then go back to my training plan library and assign that out for the team. That absolutely is everything encompassing the entire platform at a higher level. I've sped through that, want to be respectful of everyone's time, give you as much information I can in a short period of time. I do want to tell you and offer this up because it is something that I think is of great value as a follow-up. If you are interested in exploring this further, either through a more in-depth demo, or if you want to engage in a pilot, please do reach out to us. We're happy to help you set those up and mirror what a small scale rollout of Cloud Academy would be. We absolutely love to engage with our customers in the kind of pre-sales stage of things, and make sure that what we have is a fit to what you actually need. So do please reach out if there's anything that we can do to help you with. More than happy to do that. I'm going to do a quick check in the chat here to see if we have any questions, and we have no questions at this point. So what I'm going to do now is just ask you, if you don't mind, you're going to get a link to complete the end of webinar survey. I would invite you to please complete that if you can. And again, feel free to reach out after the webinar, connect with me on LinkedIn, through Twitter. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those with you. We'd love to start a conversation, share some more in-depth parts of the platform, but actually help you contextualize that and see what you're solving for, what your business outcomes are, and perhaps there could be an opportunity for us to partner. Really appreciative of your time. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or your evening. And again, thank you so much, and I hope to talk to you soon.